Hello and welcome to What the Football. We are back again with yet another video, and apologies for a very nasal Tom today. I have no idea what's going on, to be quite honest with you. I thought hay fever season was over, and I thought cold season was just around the corner. Maybe the corner's a little bit quicker than I realised. So I do apologise in advance, but I don't apologise for what I'm going to be talking about right now, which brings me great delight, but also great trepidation, because I know exactly what can happen in the future. I know a lot of YouTubers have done videos like these in the past and have made a lot of absolute idiots, which is a normal habit for me anyway, so why am I to change the narrative? But we will be talking about Liverpool and their very disappointing start of the season. 7th in the league. They're currently bottom of their Champions League group after 7 games and 1 game respectively. 6 games, sorry, not 7 games. But so the question is, I'm asking, are we a little bit too soon to doubt? Is this a little bit too soon to doubt Liverpool Football Club? They've been doubted many times before. They've been in much worse situations than this and been really successful. 3-0 down in the Champions League final, to be exact. Last year they had a pretty hit and miss start to last season, I think I seem to remember. I think the first topic, well, I've got 5 things I'm going to be talking about here, which I've got a list of. Obviously, I'm not going to show you what the list is because you need to watch it. But please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be trying to do more proactive, reactive videos. This is a reaction video that's been done in a proactive kind of way. So maybe this might be the new way of life for me. I don't know. The first thing I want to talk about is Klopp's 7-season syndrome. This is something that's been circulating the internet the last couple of weeks in regards to the Liverpool's poor start of the season, but also a trend that a lot of people are seeing in regards to Jurgen Klopp and his 7th season with certain clubs. You look at Mainz, you look at Borussia Dortmund, and I don't know much about his history with Mainz. I'm pretty sure they got relegated, but I know during Klopp's 7th season with Borussia Dortmund, there was a stage when they were generally worried about getting relegated, and Klopp very tactically decided to announce that he was going to be leaving the club when it got really bad at the end of the season, and everybody pulled together, and I think they eventually qualified for Europe. So it must have been an absolutely dreadful Bundesliga that season for a team to be in the relegation zone for a lot of the season and then just get Europe out of nowhere. Maybe a bit similar to Newcastle last season, albeit without the European qualification. This is all just coincidence at the end of the day. I don't genuinely believe in... I mean, this is Jurgen Klopp's 3rd club that he's been manager with, and it's not like a Jose Mourinho situation where it's a 3rd season syndrome. He's had it at Chelsea, Madrid, Manchester United. Will he have it with Roma? I don't know. To be fair, Jose's had it with a few clubs. Klopp's potentially going to have it with a few clubs. It's a bit of a strange thing to talk about because obviously it's just an internet myth. Is it just a pure coincidence? I'm not 100% sure. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Klopp's 7th season syndrome. But at the moment, it might be deemed right. I don't know. I mean, he recently signed a contract, and I think he would honour that contract unless disaster was to strike and Liverpool were to have an absolutely disastrous season. But I still think Liverpool will be okay. But I'll talk about that towards the end. One thing I want to talk about as well is the players at the club. Something I remember Peter Kenyon saying about Manchester United when they went through a period of transition under Sir Alex, a period which he didn't particularly help when he left the club, went to Chelsea and signed all of our transfer targets, but that's another matter altogether. I might do a video on that, I don't know. But he said that players don't become bad players overnight. It's just loss of form, loss of confidence. And I do believe this at Liverpool. I don't think these are bad players. I think these are maybe players... I mean, this might sort of link in with the 7th season syndrome in regards to Klopp pushing his players to a certain place where they would never reach, or have, where they can't reach ever again. You look at players like Wijnaldum, Mane, Robertson, players that I think signed by Liverpool for decent amounts of money, what would be considered bargain prices, who at previous clubs had not quite reached a level that would be deemed suitable for a top club. Wijnaldum hit and miss at Newcastle. Robertson played for Hull. Mane, he was targeted by a lot of big clubs, but I think when people saw that he was the main star at Liverpool, a lot of people were questioning that move. And all 3 probably played above what they're capable of, and this obviously does link up with the 7th season syndrome and Jurgen Klopp's tactics, his formations, his way of training, his way of pushing players, his man management. Maybe so. I'll be talking about Mane in a bit as well, because I've got a separate little segment for Mane. But you look at somebody like Trent, for example, who, of course, started out as a midfielder, moved to right back because Nathaniel Klein got injured, and is now starting to show that, with the greatest respect to Trent, and people say that he's a modern-day fullback, and which, from an attacking point of view, he is. But he's not attacking very well at the moment. So what does his game involve? So this is the big problem with Trent. When Trent's not playing well offensively, his defensive vulnerabilities are shown a lot more to light. They're a lot more obvious, and I think there's no more better example of that than the Man United game, when, with the greatest respect to Trent, he got done by Alanga on many occasions, and done by Rashford in the second half. Against Everton, he wasn't particularly great. Against Napoli, he was seen walking for one of their goals. When Trent offers nothing going forward defensively, he's really shown to be a very, very poor defensive fullback. And yes, is it the modern day game of attacking fullbacks? Perhaps, but football changes. An Italian team could win the Champions League this year, or a defensive team could win the Champions League this year, and all of a sudden the emphasis could be put on defensive football. Like it was when Greece won the Euros and when Porto won the Champions League. Let's not forget, in the 90s, we had a period of the early 90s when Barcelona had their dream team, and then they played AC Milan in the Champions League final, and AC Milan dismantled them. And this is when Serie A was at its absolute peak. And defensive football seemed to be the order of the day. Football can change very quickly, and I think Trent's got to adapt to his defensive. I think Trent needs to concentrate more on his defensive game than his offensive game. You look at Van Dijk, who had a poor start to last season, got better and better as the season went on, proved why he's one of the best centre-halves in the world. He's not the greatest centre-half of all time. Let's just get that out there, because I don't think Franco Baresi has ever been this bad. I don't think Beckenbauer, until maybe he was like 34, 35, has ever been this bad. I don't think Maldini, although he played at left-back, was ever this bad. I think a lot of centre-backs that I've seen in the modern English game have been this bad. I think Rio had a period when he was pretty bad. I think John Terry had a period when he was dropped by Rafa Benitez, one of the best defensive coaches around at the time. Sol Campbell had a period. These are all players that are roughly the same age. I think Van Dijk's got to that stage in his career now. He's 31 years of age. Rio, John Terry, Sol Campbell, Tony Adams all had to adapt their game to be in line with their bodies. They did. They all did. Rio stopped from being this buccaneering, swashbuckling centre-half. He used to go forward a lot to a player who had to use his brain to read the game. A bit like John Terry, a player who was never really been reliant on great pace, but realised that by the time he was 32, 33, had to make adjustments to his defensive game. And I think Virgil van Dijk might have to do that. I think Virgil van Dijk might have to make adjustments to his game. I think his concentration levels are very poor. I think his reading of the game these last couple of weeks have been absolutely shocking. I think if Harry Maguire had the level of performances that Van Dijk's had, I think, as always with Maguire, he'd still be criticised. You look at his defensive partner alongside him, Joe Gomez, who was not kicked on at all. Reminded me a little bit of Johnny Evans at Man United when he was about 25, 26. He's not quite reached the level that a lot of people were expected of him. And Andy Robertson, who I still think is a very good player, but is not having the impact that he normally has. Then look at the midfield, Fabinho, James Milner. I mean, James Milner's not, James Milner isn't past his sell-by date. He was past his sell-by date a year ago. This isn't a player who's going off. He is literally rotting at the moment in time in that midfield. And I feel sorry for a person like Harvey Elliott, who I think had a really good start to the season. You look at Mo Salah. What does Mo Salah offer apart from goals? He links the play up very well with a player that comes deep, a Firmino, a Jota, a Mane. Nunez is not going to do that. He just genuinely isn't. So maybe he's got to adapt his game as well. And of course, on to Darwin Nunez, who, I mean, I don't like to have criticise a player after 4 games, and it has been after 4 games, well 3 games because he missed a period with suspension. But this Uruguayan Andy Carroll thing, which circulates the internet again, and obviously the internet and football Twitter is a cesspool anyway. I'm not a particularly big fan of it. I'm on it, but I think a lot of opinions can be taken out of context, and I think a lot of people do try to follow the wind. But you can see why people say that about him. And Andy Carroll made a good start in the Premier League. Andy Carroll was a solid player. He just wasn't Liverpool level. Darwin Núñez has had one good season at Benfica in the league where, let's face it, Andrew Villas-Boas won a treble after one season. Maybe we were judging him a little bit too quickly. Both ways, I don't know. There is hope for Liverpool, and I'm going to compare it with two other teams, and it could go either way. And it's all down to recruitment, and of course Michael Edwards, his departure, will have a big say in this. And I will talk about Michael Edwards in a moment, because I think this has been a lot greater a problem than Liverpool have realised. Two clubs, Arsenal in 1999, Liverpool in 1991. Two clubs I'm going to compare Liverpool to at this current moment in time. Arsenal in 1999 had the likes of Seaman, Dixon, Adams, Steve Bold, Martin Keown, Nigel Winterburn. Ian Wright had just left the club. But a lot of players that were basically coming to the end of their career. This was Arsenal's main men. These are the players that Arsenal have had for the last 10 years that had pretty much won them every trophy bar European Cup. And Arsene Wenger came in, made some of those players a lot greater, but they were veterans. Look at Tony Adams. Yes, in 1999 he was still a brilliant player, but he needed replacing sooner rather than later. Arsene Wenger in the long run replaced Seaman with Lehmann. He replaced Dixon with Lauren. Adams with Campbell. Keown with Toure. Winterburn with Silvino and then eventually Ashley Cole. And Ian Wright with the likes of Anelka and then Henry. So, and he did it on a budget which wasn't in the same league as a Liverpool or a Manchester United, which is why I've got a lot of respect for Wenger in that period, domestically anyway, maybe not in Europe. But when you compare it with Liverpool in 1991, they replaced the likes of Hansen, Beardsley, Ray Houghton eventually, Bruce Grobbelaar eventually, with the likes of Mark Wright, the footballer, not the reality TV star. Look at Mark Walters replacing Houghton and Barnes. You look at Michael Thomas replacing Steve McMahon. You look at Dean Saunders and eventually Nigel Clough and eventually Paul Stewart, all replacing Peter Beardsley. And this is where Liverpool went wrong in the recruitment stakes. Liverpool bought the worst players at the worst possible time. An era when the Premier League was basically coming into fruition. This is the end of Division 1, when the money would become involved. And Liverpool found themselves behind everybody in 1999 because of the poor recruitment from 1991 onwards. I can probably say about 3 or 4 players Liverpool signed between an 8-year period were successful. A bit like Manchester United, to tell you the truth. So, I think it could go either way with Liverpool, and I'm going to get on to Michael Edwards now. I think the signings that Liverpool made at the start of the season, Fabio Carvalho and Darwin Núñez, were both planned. I think the Darwin Núñez one was a little bit more as a reaction to other teams being interested in him, but I think he was always part of the plan ever since they played each other in the Champions League, and he was very impressive in that game, by the way. And then Carvalho was obviously planned because I think they signed a pre-contract with him. We look at Arthur, who is not only my favourite Dudley Moore film, but also a midfielder that had played for the likes of Barcelona and Juventus, and not been particularly successful in either team, which doesn't say anything, really, because Jurgen Klopp's brought players in to do a certain job, like Shaqiri, who've played for big clubs and not been successful, but done a job. The Arthur signing I thought was a panic buy, and I still believe it to be a panic buy. It was probably the first example in a long time of Liverpool buying a player which they didn't particularly need or want, or they needed a midfielder, but it's probably the first sign of Liverpool not maybe having a plan. when it comes to buying players. Liverpool for the last 4 or 5 years have been absolute top dogs for recruitment everywhere. They've been the best, signing defenders, midfielders, forwards, in line with what the manager wants. Because you see a lot of clubs buying players, not because the manager wants them, but because it's good for revenue. The Arthur signing's a bit of a strange one. I don't think he's a Klopp player. I don't think he suits the way that Liverpool play. I think his injury record's very shaky. I don't think he will be there long. I think it's on loan, I believe. And it just shows an example of maybe a change in what Liverpool's strategy is going to be. Maybe this is the start of a period where Liverpool maybe become a little bit, maybe not like Manchester United, but maybe signing players is more a reaction rather than proactive. And I'm using those two words a lot today, but I think that was a reactive signing. I think Liverpool have been a bit wiser. They probably would have gone for Matthew Nunez. I think it's gone to Wolves, or I don't know if I pronounced that right, by the way, or maybe even Yuri Tielemans, who, yes, there's questions about his attitude, but there's questions about Wijnaldum's attitude as well, and look what he did at Liverpool. And I know a lot of people are saying Arthur's just a precursor for Bellingham in the summer. Next summer, that is. If Liverpool don't get Champions League football this year, they're not signing Jude Bellingham. They're not. Because the chances are, someone like Manchester United, someone like Manchester City, somebody like Chelsea will see that Jude Bellingham's available and they'll go in for him. And one of those clubs, Man City mainly, will have Champions League football and be competing for trophies. So I think that's why Liverpool have got to be careful in the whole recruitment side of things. And then the big question is really now for Liverpool, what next? Well, they've got a Champions League game tonight. I'm filming this on the Sunday, so I don't know, players might be back that I don't know about. Got a Champions League game against Ajax at home. If Liverpool don't win that, they'll probably be playing Europa League football. They've got to go to Rangers away. Got to play Ajax away. Napoli absolutely tore them a new one when they played each other. There is more of a chance. There's definitely a chance. And you look at that group as well. Rangers lost 4-0. So I think Rangers could be the whipping boys in this group. But Rangers away is a completely different game. Ajax, we know the way they want to play. They want to pass it around Liverpool's press. Liverpool haven't got a press at the moment. Liverpool literally have not got a press. So that could possibly work. Look at Napoli, the way that they played. They battered Liverpool. They absolutely battered them. So Liverpool just winning the next game. If Liverpool don't win the next game, they're going to really struggle in this group. Are they going to get the Champions League football next year? I still think they will. I think they'll get Champions League football next season. I think they'll be alright. I still think they'll be alright. I still do. I think Salah can't be this bad. Van Dijk can't be this bad. Trent can't be this bad. But core blimey, governor. They've got to get their ideas sorted sooner rather than later. Otherwise, it's curtains for Liverpool, I think, for a few years anyway. Because I think the lack of Champions League football, players might not want to go to Liverpool. We've seen that with Manchester United this season. They've struggled with recruitment at times. If I'm right about the recruitment policy in regards to players coming in terms of in relation to Arthur, that could be an issue. You look at the age of a lot of players. If a lot of players aren't playing well this season, the likes of Salah, Van Dijk, Henderson, they're all in 30s. They won't be getting any better. So Champions League football is an absolute must. If they just get Champions League football this year, Liverpool, it's not a great season, but it could save them for the next few years. And I think Liverpool fans will be happy with a long-term plan yet again, and for Klopp to maybe build a second team. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, well done, because I do go on a bit of a rant and a bit of a tangent sometimes, but thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I need the subscribers. I apologise for my... something to do with that. Nothing to do with that. So, thank you very much for watching this video. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I could really do with the lemsip, as you can tell. enjoy the rest of your week.